Start. All right. Hi guys. Thank you for joining us on a Tuesday night. I'm pretty sure whoever's here tonight are really eager to learn. Otherwise, you wouldn't be,
Mm.
sparing your Tuesday evening rather than spending with your family and joining us. So both me and Jen, we really appreciate your presence tonight. First off, just want to really welcome you guys to the inaugural event for the Gen AI in FinTech meetup. This is the meetup group I recently created. I'll do the sort of a self intro as well as the guest speaker intro momentarily. So this session tonight is about how to use ChatGPT. Hey, by the way, can it's Jen from your end? Can you just put you on mute for now? Yeah, just the echo for some reason it's coming through. Yeah, Jen. Thank you. All right. How to use ChatGPT to build a banking demo app in 2 days, which is really impressive. So the Gen AI in FinTech meetup, which is what we got here, is dedicated to discussing and sharing the latest trends, best practices, use cases, and also potentially regulatory considerations in the Gen AI applications in the FinTech space in Australia or globally. Actually, I got some potential global speakers coming up very soon as well. So just keep on the lookout for that. And for this session, you will learn from our beloved guest speaker, Jen Varga, who recently took on a very ambitious challenge to build out a fully functional prototype, or actually banking app prototype using ChatGPT just over a weekend, just with like writing one line of code, which is super impressive. Jen took on the role of a project sponsor in this project, rely on ChatGPT to manage the product requirements and also write all the code, through the machine. And also even he was really surprised and impressed with how powerful and efficient ChatGPT proven to be. But of course, it's just ChatGPT. There are tons of other large language models and everything else can do the work as well. Just a bit of a quick intro on Jen, our guest speaker tonight. Jen is a seasoned technologist with extensive experience in developing and leading engineering team. Recently, he joined Deloitte as a senior consultant. Jen has previously spearheaded numerous projects that leveraged AI and machine learning as well. As a passionate blogger, I don't know if some of you guys seen his blog post around Gen AI on LinkedIn. They are also very insightful. I highly recommend you guys check them out. So Jen wrote extensively on the practical applications of Gen AI applications in fintech. Me myself, just a quick a plug-in. So I'm a fairly experienced product manager, product leader. Been doing product for a while in startups and scale-ups, and now I'm back in fintech space. This is actually why personally this is super relevant to what I do. I'm a digital banking product manager at Sandstone Technology, a white label digital banking and digital lending solution to about 30 plus banks globally. A quick sort of intro of the agenda tonight. So we'll start the intro, which is what we're doing right now. And Jen is going to go through his quick presentation and also demo on the on that full experience he has went through recently with building the app using ChatGPT. And also towards to the end, we'll have plenty time for you guys to ask questions to Jen, and also we'll leave some contact details and everything towards to the very end. That's everything from my end on the intro. How about I will just, hand over to Jen and let's get the show started. Yeah, go for it.
Good
Jen.
evening. Good evening. Thank you, Kurt. Thanks for the opportunity to present this evening on the inaugural meetup. That's actually my first meetup that I presented at, so please bear with me if there are any hiccups or things don't go smoothly. I'm going to run through a presentation and also envelope it with a demo as well. Let me see. Can you see the screens? Everything okay? Yep.
Yep.
Great. So, why did I do this and why am I presenting? I think so. Kurt mentioned that I've been writing a lot, blogging a lot recently. I've been kind of in between a couple of roles, and so I used the opportunity to do a lot of research in AI, and also one thing I like to do is when I do research is to write up an article and share it, just as a way of consolidating my my knowledge. So I wrote a series of articles on AI in banking, which is predominantly around traditional AI, machine learning, and fraud detection, loan approvals, that kind of stuff. But then I also wanted to discover that quite a few of the banks are using chatbots to enable people to talk with their accounts, be able to talk with the bank, basically to try and provide an alternative way of getting into the bank without having to call centers or pop into the bank. So what I wanted to do was primarily to see if I could build an app I could tie in with my blog posts. I wanted to see if I could build a chatbot on top of the app, and also experiment with that, putting maybe some other backend services around trying to do fraud detection or even more intelligent agents. So it's really, for me, it's a way of being able to validate some of the stuff that I've been talking about in my blog posts. And also, as Kurt mentioned, I'm a technologist, I'm an engineer by trade, started off as a software developer, haven't done much development recently, and I thought it would be a great opportunity to see if I could use ChatGPT to fill the gaps in my coding knowledge. So I just set out to build an app over a weekend. I had over 2 days, basically two half days, lots of false starts, lots of rabbit holes, but I'll come back to those a bit later in the lessons learned. Now, I'm an engineer, and I don't know if you're engineers or not, so I wanted to try and make this presentation less technical and more, I guess, product focused. And the kind of, this is what I think where Kurt was quite interested in the work I've been doing, because my intention is, I know as an engineer, most developers could hack this up in the weekend by themselves, but most product managers, product owners couldn't do this by themselves. And so the idea was to try and just to show to people that what can be done with ChatGPT, and to basically get ideas in your heads and encourage you to go off and experiment and build something yourself. So I've tried to present this through the eyes of a fictional product manager who's called Sarah, and it's kind of designed to reflect all what I think is some of the real world problems that product managers have. And if I make a mistake, I'm going to rely on Kurt to correct me on my assumptions on product management. So I'm not a product manager. I've worked with product managers, but I'm an engineering manager most recently.
Hey, Jen, just before you dive deeper on this, just this for everybody else to know. If you do have any questions, please just put them in the chat. Put it in the chat channel, so we'll be addressing like all of your questions towards the end. So
yeah, great, thanks. So I'm now going to list what my assumptions are, what a product manager does, and I'm sure Kurt will correct me if there's anything wrong here. So I want to look at what Sarah does as a role. So project manager, I think, is responsible for product vision. They need to understand the markets, competition, needs of their customers in order to be able to set the clear direction for the product. They need to gather and prioritize requirements, and that kind of involves working with stakeholders, with customers, and also the development team to identify what features and functionalities are most important and to prioritize them. They work cross-functionally, so as a product manager, they need to coordinate a lot of different people. So they'll be working with designers, marketing teams, sales teams, just making sure everyone as a business is aligned and working towards the same goal. And then lastly, they're kind of responsible for successful delivery and the ongoing success of the product. So that means taking the product from an inception all the way through to market and then feature enhancements down the track. So, Kurt, did you want to add anything to
no,
that?
I think I think you covered pretty well. So good job on that one.
Yeah, thanks.
That's good.
So with these responsibilities in mind, let's see how Sarah could approach this problem. So I've now looked at Sarah. So Sarah is a product manager. She works for a mid-sized fintech company. Her job involves constantly innovating and bringing new features to life in order to stay ahead in the competitive market. But despite her strong understanding of the market and her user needs, she's got a significant challenge in that she has very limited coding experience, and she relies heavily on her development team to build and prototype new ideas, which is great, but she's kind of stuck because the development team is small, it's stretched, and they're juggling multiple projects and multiple priorities at once. So whenever Sarah has a need for a new feature or an idea or a product, she faces delays due to the limited resources available. But what she needs, she needs to be able to rapidly prototype products. She needs to be able to get a product up and running quickly, show it to customers, get feedback, make changes very quickly. And she needs to be able to validate her ideas before putting together a budget to commit more significant resources. So I guess where I've been previously with other companies, I've seen product managers rely heavily on static tools like Figma. They tended to work closely with designers. They come up with very beautiful designs, lots of screens, but it kind of has limitations in that it's quite static. I know you can do click-throughs with some of the new tooling, but it still doesn't fully capture the interactive elements of an application, navigation, user inputs, and real-time updates. It's nice to look at, but stakeholders and users can't interact with it as they would with a real application. And that kind of makes it a bit harder to understand the user experience and to get meaningful feedback. So with static design as well, it's very good for getting feedback on how product looks. The visual aspects is great, but it's very, very hard to get input back on functionality and usability. So one thing that Sarah would really like is to have a working prototype that she could engage with stakeholders and customers in order to be able to get to more relevant feedback. So she looks down the track. She's heard about tools like ChatGPT. She knows some of the developers that are using GitHub Copilot, but she assumes that ChatGPT and all the AI tooling is more to help developers rather than helping product managers. But she has a bit of a thought. She thinks, if the developer's using this, can I use it? Can I use ChatGPT to build a prototype by myself without having to have a developer or a development team? So she decides to take the leap and they start experimenting with ChatGPT. So she starts off with a small project, something she's familiar with, something which is not going to be too difficult to do, a small app with basic functionality, just to learn how to use ChatGPT and to see what kind of code it develops. And I guess proviso here is that she needs to have a little bit of coding experience. She can't be completely code-free, because one of the challenges of ChatGPT at the moment is it doesn't create working code within the ChatGPT. It creates code on the screen, which you then need, you have to copy paste into an IDE like VS Code. So I'll show you how that works a bit later. Do you have any questions up yet, Kurt? No, all good?
No questions so far. Yep, all good.
Right. So how do we start? And this is how I started. This was my first prompt. It was really very naive prompt. As you can see, I'm not a product manager. I'm not very good at putting requirements down, but I had a very simple app in mind. Just a simple bank where you can log on, you can have accounts, you can deposit money, withdraw money, you can transfer money between accounts, and you can view your account history. Very, very simple. The idea for that was for me then to use that as a basis for adding new features down the track. And we'll come to some of those features a bit later. But one of the things that I did is I put my prompt in, and then I first thing was to get feedback from ChatGPT. How could I make this better? And it came back with some suggestions. And then from there, we kind of had a conversation and worked with that, developed a set of user stories with acceptance criteria. I decided which features I wanted. I dropped certain things. It wanted to go full multi-currency, which was a bit too advanced for this application. And then from there, we started to define a database schema, APIs, backend services, a front end, and then started putting in the CSS styling to make it look good. So that was list of things which kind of it's come up with. So user stories, database, front end, back end. From an engineering point of view, generated a set of unit tests, which is great. About 15 tests, which work really quite well, and then build pipelines. So I check it into GitHub, and it builds automatically in the background, it runs the tests, and so I know what I'm checking in what will work. And it's also pretty good at generating loads of documentation. You just ask for documentation, and it comes up with it. So on an engineering side, I'll kind of dive in quickly. It's a very simple model, three entities. There's a, you see that still? Yep. There's a user has an account, and the account has transactions. Backend, there's a whole stack of APIs to create accounts, delete, list accounts, deposit, withdraw, transfer, and get a list of transactions from an account. That was all done using a Django framework, and the web UI as well, using HTML templates. Very, very simple. Browse the accounts, a list of actions, you click on the buttons, and we can see what goes on. From a web UI point of view, because that's the thing which most people see. Initially, when I first created it, it didn't necessarily come up with a very user-friendly looking UI, which is a very, very basic HTML page. And then kind of talk with ChatGPT, said, no, don't like that. I need updating, make it more contemporary. Give it some examples of styles that you like, and then it can come back with something a bit more stylish like that. The other benefits with the framework that ChatGPT chose for me is the Django. It's a Python application framework. It comes with a backend portal. So as an administrator to the application, I can log in, I can create new users, I can fix things. We'll come to that. So this was, for me, a whole afternoon of work. I'm quite an adept ChatGPT user. It took me 3 attempts to get something to work. The first 2, I made things too complicated, and it just didn't come up with anything compelling. So I ended up with a fully functional prototype, demonstrates the basic one user can have multiple accounts that count. You can deposit, withdraw, transfer, list transactions. And it was very easy to get up and running on my laptop. I can run it, I can take it around to show customers, and provides a great way of providing feedback. And in fact, I sat down with Kurt in a cafe about 2 weeks ago, just stepped him through how it worked, and that kind of kickstarted the idea of presenting it today. So the challenges I found were particular around complexity on the whole application. If you try and do everything in one go, it will attempt to do it, but it will get stuck and lost, and you'll end up with a spaghetti of code. For me, it was a lot easier to start doing things slowly. So the first thing I did was create an app with no functionality other than login. You can register, you can log in, you can log out, and then once that was working, add things like an account, create accounts, and then add functionality to deposit, withdraw, transfer, and then add functionality to list transactions. So by doing this, you get something which is a lot more manageable, and it enables you to give feedback through to ChatGPT quite quickly. And one of the nice things with ChatGPT at the moment is you can upload images, so it's very good at you get the code running on your laptop, you go to browser, you can see how it looks, you take a screenshot, and you post it back through to ChatGPT with any comments on that. I have issues around alignment of buttons, color, fonts, things not fitting on the screen. And it's very good at updating the code that it's written. And so I think on the whole, I think Kurt mentioned that I wrote one line of code. I did, but that line of code got overwritten. So everything I'm going to show you next is going to be 100% written by ChatGPT. So I'm going to switch now to basic demo. I'm going to have to stop sharing for a second and then reshare with a different window. So if anyone wants to ask any questions, now would be a good time.
Sure. We actually got loads of questions coming in. While you're doing that, I'll ask you a very easy one. This one from my colleague Greg. What version of GPT is being used here? Is it GPT 4.0 or what?
Yeah, this is GPT 4.0. 4.0 is very good. Let me just find my screen to share. Let's show window.
Cool.
Yeah, you can see my screen now. Yeah, so GPT 4.0.
Nice.
Now that's available in the free plan, but you don't get many chats. So I subscribe, so I get a lot more. I can ask a lot more questions before it runs out of credits. But I also found previously the standard GPT 3.5 is also pretty good at writing code. So 4.0 is good from a product management point of view because it's very good at handling concepts and text-based stuff, but 3.5 is also very good at writing code.
Nice.
4.0 is good because you can post images to the chat and get feedback that way. I don't think 3.5 does that yet.
Cool. All right. Let's go ahead with your demo first because we do have a lot of questions to go through. So
sure.
Let's come back to questions once we've gone through everything here. Yep.
Okay. So this is simple demo. You log on, you see your account, you log on, see your accounts. I'm not going to do the logon page because I've forgotten my password to log on. I'd have to go and search for it again. But this is a previous account I've set up. It's got four accounts. I can create a new account. It's quite simple. Create it again. This is very basic. It's not going to be. 6 is created. I can put some money into it. Deposit $100, and it's updated it to 100. Then you can see I can list the transactions for that account, which should be just show the $100 deposit. Yep, great. Back to my accounts. I can transfer money. I'll transfer about $50. Copy to account number 0. 5. I'll go to 007 because I know that doesn't exist. And it's going to come back with field. It's got account form of field validation. Oh dear, don't you love that?
That's all right. It's very common. Whenever you
real.
demo, it happens all the time. Yeah, exactly, right? It's actually without demo
Yeah,
errors, that's not real demo. Yeah, there we go. Oh, good.
So okay. So I'll go through to 005, which I think is an account. transfer, done. And just, we're down to $50. We can go into transactions. And I think, yeah, you see the transactions there. I'll do the chat demo a bit later, but kind of this is kind of basic functionality. So account creation, a few actions you can do with it, which is deposit, withdraw, transfer, list transactions, and delete account. I'll go through and delete account. Yeah. So it's quite simple, quite nice. I don't know from a design point of view how contemporary it is, but for a demo point of view, just to show what can be done with ChatGPT, I think it's pretty impressive. Certainly, it's not something I could have done by myself, not on a weekend. And having not really coded for many years, I would have struggled. I've been looking through on tutorials or documentation. I don't think I could have got this far. And I hope, hopefully, I try to structure this so that somebody with very limited coding knowledge should be able to follow the same process and get something up and running. So from a coding point of view, again, I'll just jump to a different window and show you what the code looks like. Stop presenting. Reshare. Okay. So this is the Python code. What do you get? Go through a very simple, a lot of files. So what ChatGPT does, and I'll jump to that in a minute as well. Basically, it will list you a whole stack of file names, and then it'll list you the contents of each file. So you go through, you create an empty file, and then you copy paste from ChatGPT across, and it looks all of this code written by ChatGPT. So the models that's got the account and the transactions in there. It's done a whole stack of stuff I couldn't do. It's putting in the field validation, and it does that for quite a bit of stuff. On the design side, I've got the unit tests here. I can run those. Should be 15 of them. The unit test framework is good because it basically creates a new database, populates it with information so it doesn't corrupt the database you're using for the demo. And while that's running, a whole stack of documentation. I've got design, got user stories, which my laptop's croaking. I can show it. So it's gone through and taken my basic bullet list of requirements and has expanded it out. Users, transaction management, created a user guide as well. Okay. I'll come back to that later. I'm very wary of time. I'll skip back now to the presentation. Any more questions coming up, Kurt? I'm swapping back.
We do have a lot of questions, but I was thinking maybe we'll
okay.
address them towards the end once you're going through the ChatGPT stuff, the chatbot stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Show window. Back to demo. Okay. So built the very basic app, or Sarah has. She takes it to customers. She wants to maybe suggest some ideas. She asks ChatGPT, is there anything else I could do with my app to make it more compelling? Any more features I would like? Now, I think Kurt will say this is something you should do with your customers rather than with ChatGPT, but it doesn't hurt to be pre-warned beforehand the kind of questions that or feedback the customers may give. So you can actually go into ChatGPT and create personas. You can create a persona of a customer and then ask that customer to provide feedback on your app. That's a good way of doing things. So you can create critical customers, create customers of different ages, and they tend to be quite good at providing feedback. So one idea is you might create 10 different personas, and then you might go in it and interview each one of them about the products and collect feedback that way. I know you need to be talking to real customers, but if you need something quick and dirty, then that you can use ChatGPT for that. So one of the things I wanted to do, and I jumped this, I suppose that I wanted to add a chatbot facility to the app, predominantly because that's one of the use cases I was trying to demonstrate in my blog series. I wanted it to be free format, and again, first version was going to be just quite simple. It's going to be asking very basic questions like, how much money do I have in my account? Can I deposit some money? Can I withdraw money? I want to transfer money from account 1 to account 6. Can you show me a list of transactions? All very simple things which you could basically already do through the web UI by clicking buttons. I wanted basically the chat bot to be able to click those buttons for me. And so I ended up with a very, very simple form, new page, field I can type in a question or a request, press send, and then get a response back. And I'll show you how that works now. So I'll skip back to demo again. Okay, so now we've got 4 accounts here. I can come through, so I can see account 2 has $395. I can just go to my chat. How much money do I have in account 0002? So what this is doing, so this basically, there's a request. This request is getting sent through to ChatGPT, the Open AI API, and I'm giving it a list of functions that the bank supports. So it'll say, based on this request, which API should I call? It will come back and it will say, it'll be get account 2. We can have a look at the back end in a second. How much money do I have in account 2? Balance for account 2 is $395. Great. Transfer 300 from account 0002 to account 0005. A typo. Yep. And then how much cash is in account 0002? It should be now $95, hopefully. Yep. And then I can go withdraw 100 from 0002, which should be blocked. Insufficient funds. Yeah. So it's pretty good. It's very basic, but it's good chat, and you could see a voice interface to this would be really quite compelling as well. So that's kind of list. Yeah, what's activity, and then route 0002. That should give me a list of transactions. Yep. Okay, it's not beautifully formatted, but I think the idea was just to show how chat can work. So that was a chatbot. That was actually quite simple to do. That again was an afternoon chatting with ChatGPT 4. So now I've got this window open. I'll show you what kind of things we do with chat. That's a different one. So start off, I'd like your help to build a demo. I kind of added a feature, added a question, review the above and make suggestions. It will come through. Suggestions for enhancements, that's fine. So there's a lot of discussions on getting the requirements and user stories in place. I'll go through to find something with some code. It's very good at keeping track of all the files that's created. And where are we? Try and find a bit of code.
Yeah, that's great. Actually, like one of the questions was asking, can you show us a demo of ChatGPT generating the code from story prompt? So if you can just while you're doing that, showing that up, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, let's try and find some real code. Explain. It's good at explaining code. So what I tend to do, I will get a working version, and then I will basically then start a new ChatGPT session and upload the code as a set of files into here, which is why the first thing is review your code base, and that's the files I've uploaded. But code, so this is kind of code it generates, and then so it's created. Yep, this is to add some new features. That gives me the file name to change, and this is the new code. So I go basically copy that from here and then paste it into VS Code. It's gone through, updating other files. Does a lot of copy paste, and that will change soon. This is just, I guess, one of the questions coming up. Probably we'll talk about how I see things going down the future. But I did this about 3 weeks ago, and I'm aware of the new developments last week, which would make this a bit easier to do. But there's a lot of copy paste, and if you're familiar with in this case with Python, if you can get an app up and running in Python and VS Code, I don't think it's going to be too much trouble to copy paste stuff. Same with, I think ChatGPT is pretty good at doing JavaScript as well. If you needed to do a Node application or an Express application, it's pretty good with that. It's also very good with if it creates code which doesn't work and generates errors, you just copy paste the error message into here, and it will try its best to fix the problem. Let's see if I can search for error. Yep. So this is stuff I look at it and it doesn't mean anything to me. It's one of the tests failed, and then it will suggest the fix to it. Goes and then updates the code again. So a lot of copy paste, and then you just keep on doing that until it works. So you will see my chat sessions are quite long, and a lot of copy paste. And then towards the end, I think there was Yeah. So one thing I like to do as well, for me is at the end of each session, I like to go back to write it up. So I get ChatGPT to summarize what we've done. So just write me an article about what we've done. Based on what we've done, can you make suggestions about how we could do it better next time? Review my initial prompt. Is there any way I should have made it better? So I see each journey or each session is a good opportunity to build and learn from. You see, just generating oodles of documentation. Sometimes it's a challenge working out where to stop. You can just drill down and down. Anyway, let's cover off the code section I wanted to show. Cover off the demo. Get back the last couple of slides, and we'll finish off with some questions.
Cool. I have to say this is really amazing. This is not the first time I have seen it because we put up before, but every time I think I've seen it, I just can't. Yeah, just can't. For me, it's really amazing, shocking. There are a couple of a big call outs from me first, right? And I think I really enjoy that whole iterative approach you mentioned earlier. Just talking about, well, like when you create the first version, like MVP version of the prompt, but then you just filter to ChatGPT, see what they come back with, and then keep iterating on that. I think that process really align well with how we actually do product development as well. As a PM, that's how we get feedback. Now you're getting feedback from ChatGPT. So I think as a starting point, that was a really awesome approach. And also as a PM, I really like the that sort of a power you mentioned earlier in terms of what ChatGPT can help us unlocking the ability and also speed as well to really validating product ideas quickly, right? Like one thing you mentioned earlier around the comparison between ChatGPT, to do using this kind of a functional prototype to maybe a Figma prototype. I do have a little chart. I just want to quickly share with everyone.
I'll just
Let me just quickly share my screen. 2 secs. So I know this is more like Jen's talk, but I was thinking if I can quickly show you guys, because I actually recently done a talk on lean product management. This is my sort of a domain knowledge. I think this ties really well what Jen was showing us earlier. Typically, when we do product new product ideas or hypothesis validation, there's two key you can axis. There's the confidence level, like what level of confidence that we want to actually do the assumption validation for whatever the problems and solutions that we think we want to go with. The other one is the time, cost, and complexity. Basically how much time, how complex, how much money we're willing to spend to do this validation, right? So typically, like domain experts, you speak with somebody who knows this area really well. This is fairly quick and easy, but is low confidence because sometimes they might have their own biases and everything. So this process can go all the way up to the MVP. This MVP in terms of true product launch, the first version you can learn from customers, and then the product iterations, the real ones you can actually learn from customers, right? So they can give you a really high confidence level, but the cost is very high because your entire development team needs to just basically build it out and then keep iterating on that. So this is the traditional path with software product development. What ChatGPT or GenAI has done, they basically flipped this part. Like when we previously done real life experiments, a lot of times we have to do, build out the products and everything. Whereas now we can actually bring this part much lower, still able to achieve the same confidence level with much less cost. So obviously, if that's the case, that would be definitely way superior comparing to a lot of the less confident, maybe they're just showing the design or asking questions. Because me as a PM, why I heard that we can actually within such short amount of time, a little bit very little amount of cost, that we can actually have this not high fidelity but relatively comprehensive type of functional prototype we can either give to the senior stakeholders or the users' hands to even do some backdoor testings and stuff. That is music to our ears. So I think it definitely I think from a PM perspective, like when I say PM, product managers, this has definitely fundamentally changed the way you were what like a lot of way how we could potentially validating new product ideas moving forward. So this is really, really groundbreaking stuff. So they're just the little things I want to share. But now let's get back into the questions. Stop share my screen. Um, we'll probably just go from top down. And if you guys have any more questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask as well. I'm just going to quickly go from the screen. Where am I? 2 seconds. I think we already answered the GPT,
Yeah.
which version. The next question from Liam asking, does the prompt need to be in that particular format? When specifying the user stories, I think you have a specific like format. The hashtags and stuff, right? In the symbols, does the
Yeah.
hashtag stuff mean anything, or how did you come up with that sort of a structure? Do you want to quickly?
Sure. So those tags is basically it's written in Markdown language. So a hash is as a header, and the hyphens are bullet points. For some reason, ChatGPT and a lot of LLMs seem to handle prompts better if they're structured that way. So that's the reason I wrote it that way. So if you're familiar with Markdown format or wiki format, then that's a good way of asking questions.
Cool. I think we got a thumb up from Liam, so we should be good. Next one is from Lachlan. So this one's about how much of the application design did ChatGPT come up with? For example, like have you already decided actions and you just basically when you did, from a solution design perspective, it was a more you start give to ChatGPT, or it's all pretty much just GPT just
It was
go
pretty
for it?
much all of ChatGPT. There was so in this case, it decided the application framework to use, which was Django, Python. It wanted to use a Postgres database as a backend, but I thought that was a bit too complicated for this. So that was the only change I made to the original design, was to use a SQLite database, which is a file-based database. As far as the entities goes, it designed all those, had very little input into it. I really wanted to see how far it could get by itself. I was sort of being an engineer, it's very tempting to step in and guide it a lot, but I wanted to see if somebody without much engineering experience can it still produce something useful, and I think it did in the end.
That's awesome. I think Troy had a very similar question. Did you specify the framework or left it on ChatGPT? For example, the Django one we just mentioned earlier. I think Jen just answered that question.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Another question from Liam. How structured was the code produced compared to what an experienced developer would have come up with? I think I might have asked this question to you when we
Yeah.
were catching up, right?
Yeah.
So maybe I'll let you.
It's not bad. For the simple stuff, it was quite clean. When I put the chat bot on top, it kind of did some very spaghetti type coding. It worked, but it's not kind of coding which I'd be proud to show to some in a pull request. But a lot of the other stuff was very good. And for me as well, I've never used Django framework before, so when it suggested that, I was kind of a bit apprehensive because I thought I would have spent all my time trying to fix bugs. And there were bugs, but ChatGPT was able to fix them all. So that was good. And looking back on it, Django is good, but maybe too complex for a simple app like this. But it does have its own benefits. So I tried last weekend rebuilding the app again from scratch using a different framework with a different LLM tool, with the Anthropic Claude, and tried to use it doing JavaScript. But it was promising, but I wasn't able to get anything working in the end.
Yeah. And also just to set everyone's expectation, right? I think every time like when we do this sort of stuff, it's like fit for a particular purpose. Because here the purpose of what we're doing, we're not trying to create a production enterprise grade production app and everything for banks, but rather we're trying to like just create a very simple and easy prototype we can test feedback ideas from users. So because of that, I think the need for having a you can call production quality code and everything is actually much less. So that's probably not as important as many other aspects that we
Yeah,
just discussed earlier.
that's good.
All right, let's move on to the next question. I think this one from my colleague Greg. Tr- oh, read Troy's question. Did you request GPT to recommend compared to a few? I think that's the same question. Next one from Leon as well. How does ChatGPT remember your project? Okay, for example, if you had a couple of prototypes on the go and also wanted to make changes to one of them, do they memorize? Do they have like sort of a memory from your experience?
No, I will quickly go through. Yes, but kind of. I will present something else. Show window. Okay. The ChatGPT 4 or ChatGPT has something called GPTs, which is kind of a special kind of an agent style way of interacting. So I've created a GPT for Simple Bank, edit GPT. So here I've created basically a system prompt. Your ChatGPT, give it an overview of the bank. Just expand that. This is the framework it's been using. So this prompt was written by ChatGPT based on a session that I had. So I had a session, and I said I want to save this session, work on it later, create a prompt so that you will know what we're trying to work on. So this is the context, and then I've uploaded the files. So I basically zipped up all my files and uploaded them to the GPT, and I can now ask questions about the files. So give me a list files. Yeah. So we go through. It's gone through. These are all the files I've uploaded. That's the way I kind of get it to remember things. Otherwise, yeah, if you're maintaining just a single session, you will eventually run out of context window size. So this is a good way of doing it. Just zip up your files and upload. It's very
Fantastic.
good. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
All right. Just given the interest time, let's move on. So we have another question here from Lachlan. So did ChatGPT give you the entire source structure, or was it just parts of the files for your own layout?
I asked it to give me the directory structure, and then it goes through. So goes through and starts creating the things files by itself. I don't know if I can find too many old chats, but then kind of ask it once it's done that is to give me a script which goes through and creates the project structure for me, and that basically creates a bash script which you can download and run on your laptop, and it creates all the folders, all the empty files, and it's a matter of just copy paste from here into the empty files. So it
Nice.
generates all the code and all the structure.
Awesome. All right. The next one is how much does the large language model chat features via ChatGPT cost you? Did it cost you anything to hook up with the the chatbot, the ChatGPT, the
Mm,
OpenAI
Uh,
APIs and stuff. Yeah.
for this, no. But I subscribe. I pay $20 a month for
Mm,
premium access, but you can get a long way with the free account. Um, I used to use the free account about a year ago for doing some very simple apps, and that worked fine. Again, ChatGPT 3.5 Turbo is pretty good with code. It may not be as good with words, but for generating code, it's really good. I think that's the one that GitHub Copilot uses in the back end.
cool.
So you can get a long way with the free version.
Nice. Uh, this is the last question from the list. I might also have just a couple of follow-up questions from my end as well to wrap up. The last question is from Greg on the list here is, what if as a PM you don't have any coding experience, it's still possible? I think this is actually the question I asked you before. So
Yeah,
just given my personal experience, I think this is actually a question from me as well. So I'll let you to address that. I mean,
yeah.
like in the more realistic, like more realistic sense, how do you see this thing really sort of play out in the company context or the non-technical PM sort of context?
I think it's Kurt. You're probably best to answer that
Sure.
because
All right.
yeah,
Happy to, because we like me and Jen, we actually had a discussion around this. For me coming from a non-technical background, when Jen was showing all the process that he was going through, especially when ChatGPT giving you that code, right? Like because I'm probably not going to be able to really validate the validity of the code. So I do believe it's better that I can create all the prompts and get the feedback and everything, but then I do need to from time to time get either a senior developer or a solution architect just help me to just check on something from like more like a like a sort of an external consultant sort of thing, just the checking in or get some feedback from time to time. But I think I can probably do a big chunk of this stuff here, but I do need a bit of a guidance from a technical person's help, throughout this whole thing.
yeah, I'd agree with that. I think probably the first time you'll need to sit next to a developer, get them to do it. Second and third time, you probably end up doing more by yourself, and then maybe down the track you'll get to the stage where you can start putting in feature enhancements without getting the developer involved.
Yeah, agreed. Just give it the interest. I mean, like we might just extend a few more minutes if that's okay with you guys. I mean,
Sure.
like if if, if you guys have to go, feel free to drop out. I just have a few more questions I want to follow up with you. I think this is actually quite important to I think that just beyond the demo stuff you just shown us earlier. One is do you like what have you seen or project the popular use cases of Gen AI technology in banking or in the financial services industry? Yeah.
The first one is definitely the chatbot side. So the basic chatbot, I think a lot of banks have had for a while, and they've been able to do that with the older chatbot technology, which isn't necessarily AI involved. The next phase it would be to have some more intelligence agent, which sits on top. So you could be able to say things like transfer $100 from my savings account to my mortgage account. That kind of involves a bit of intelligence. It's got to look up the account. It's got to know which one's your mortgage account, which one's your savings account, how much to transfer across. You might want to ask it questions like, how much did I spend on groceries last month? So it needs to look up your transaction history, categorize that, and then give you a list. So those are kind of things which can be built on with the Gen AI as opposed to normal chatbot technology. On the back end, there's a lot of stuff around document processing, especially with loan approvals. People are uploading documents. They need they're probably scanned documents. There may be handwritten documents. They need to be converted into machine readable formats. Apparently there's a lot of fraud going on with people uploading documents which are fake. You need to be able to detect those. You need to be able to cross-reference documents, make sure people aren't. It's a good way of detecting potential fraud. So there's a lot of stuff on the back end as far as analyzing text. There's a lot of stuff around with personalization of services coming down the track.
Mm.
So bank will know who you are and be able to offer services based on your preferences or your history. So these are things which are kind of bubbling away and will come down. You probably end up with a virtual banking agent who you will converse with on your device. They'll be able to help you.
Oh, that sounds very inspiring. One last question. What's your
Yep.
advice to our audience today, just in terms of learning the learning the Gen AI technology and also its applications to our own current or future work, like just from a learning perspective?
From a learning perspective, just try it. Just dive in. Start with something very, very simple. Even start with create me a Hello World app. Create me a Hello World web application. Just try something. You'll be surprised how easy it is to get going. And once you've got Hello World, you can probably start thinking of all sorts of ideas to add to it and just experiment. It's a lot of it is just not so much trial and error. It's just getting your hands dirty. I don't think it's not necessarily things you can just read from a book. Just things you just got to try, and then find other people who are doing similar things. Talk to them, share experiences, share prompts. It's all good ways of getting involved. If you're in your company, get a Gen AI hackathon up and running. Get sponsorship from the execs. Just do fun stuff.
Fantastic. All right. I think that's all the questions I have, and also everyone got here. Thank you so much for joining the show. This is our first event. I'm pretty sure everyone got a lot out of it. Here's the QR code. I think this is linked to your LinkedIn
My
page, is it?
LinkedIn, yeah, yep.
Fantastic. Yes. So please feel free to connect to Jen. If you have more questions, want to get the GitHub, his GitHub like repos page and everything, I believe he got it all on his LinkedIn page as well.
Yep.
Just before we wrap up, I actually have a little plug here. If I could just quickly share my screen for 1 second. I mean, feel free for some of you guys, if you have to leave right now, feel free to do so. But also quickly share this with you. Give me 2 seconds. Where am I? Right, let's see. Cool. All right. Just letting you guys know, especially the people in the audience that actually either product managers or interested in product management. Me and Irene. So we actually co-hosting a event. I mean, this is a more Irene's sort of event. I mean, the lady is waving a hand to you. So she has a group. It's called a product circle chat. Maybe Irene, I'll let you to quickly introduce, and then we can have a quick chat about it.
Hi, I'm Irene. Thank you, Jen. That was such an insightful. I've been using ChatGPT since, when did it come out? Not last year, the year before, right?
Yep.
The year before.
I've been using it for a while, but I haven't done what you've done, where you've gone in and actually, how do I develop this app? I haven't, because I haven't come from an engineering background. But
Yep.
so I'm like, I need an engineer to sit with me so we do it together, so I don't lose anything. But anyway, so as Kurt said, I run Product Circle Chat, which is every second week. It's a free virtual meetup where I have speakers from around the world who are sharing their real product experience, knowledge, wisdom. They show up with their battle scars. They talk through what they're working, what they've learned. And the idea is to share wisdom, and we all grow together. So next week, Ken is coming on, Ken Sandy. He's the author of The Influential Product Manager. Kurt is kind enough to co-host with me. It's totally open to anyone coming and co-hosting with me. In fact, I'd like more and more people, because I really wanted this to exist, but I didn't necessarily want it to do everything. Although I've got great speakers who've come on, like Christian Idiotti, Bob Moesta came on a few weeks ago, Petra Ville, who else was there? Rich Mironov, Ravi Mehta,
as well.
Radhika Dutt, just like so many, and also even Kirsten Mann and some local product leaders, because I really think that we can all share from and learn from each other. So
thank you, Irene. So this is for you guys to know. I mean, for those of you guys, like, if you're not a product people, don't worry. But if you are interested, or like if you're doing product management or like already, this is a really good one. Even Ken Sandy himself, he's actually one of my favorite product leaders around the world. You know, like Marty Kagan level. For some of you guys might have heard of Marty Kagan. So he's just, you know, from a influence, from a like awareness perspective, is really up there. So if you are free, it's at 11:30 to 12:30 next week, Thursday, like our time. So feel free to jump on, like kind of like a like early lunch and learn sort of thing. Feel free to check it out.
Oh, do I still have it at 11:30? We were going to do lunch and learn, so that might be at 12 o'clock. Let me
Oh, did we check? All right. Well, I mean,
but also, Ken, I've been chatting with Ken about the topic, and I think he might be talking. So the last chat I had with him, he was obsessed about AI and using ChatGPT. So
Nice.
I really want to know his take. I don't know what he's going to come in and talk about. So I'm waiting for him to come back to me with what the topic is.
Amazing. Yeah, but if you guys do sign up on that, like obviously you'll get the notification around the timing and everything. So please do. All right, I think we covered everything. Let me stop share. Yeah, so thank you guys. I think this has been an amazing evening. So do appreciate you guys staying back on a Tuesday night and trying to learn. Hopefully all of you guys got a bit of a takeaway from this session. For this is our first event. I'm trying to run this fairly regularly, similar to Irene. Hopefully I can also run this every fortnightly. So I got the next two speakers pretty much almost lined up now. So you should be expecting the invite to be sent out probably I think there should be one in the next 2 to 3 weeks, and also 2 to 3 weeks after. All of those guys, they're either like Jen, already doing some sort of a tinkering, trying in this space, or they already have some sort of a commercialized products like Gen AI products in market, within fintech, within banking, within this space. So amazing stuff coming up, guys. All right.
Yep. Thank you, everybody.
Have a good night, and I'll see you guys all soon.
Bye.
Bye, guys. See ya.
Thanks. Bye.